Got a good buddy who really brought the whole issue of human trafficking to my attention because, like you said, we just don't hear a whole lot about it with the mainstream media.
Nope.
And it's sad and it's a disservice because it is such a huge problem, not only in our country, but in the countries that are the people that are crossing our borders. We're seeing this a lot at our southern borders, and it's very, very sad what is happening to these women and these children.
Welcome to The Right to Inspire. Journalist and host Sarah Strackhouse has worked at Fox News, the CW, CBS, NBC, and Time Warner cable stations across the country for more than 10 years and is now focused on telling inspiring stories of those dedicated to making change. She's driving the message home that ultimately you have the right, the freedom, and the power to be the change you want to see in the world. You have the right to inspire.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. We are so excited to be back after a little hiatus. I'm here with Amy Robbins for our first show back. Amy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, you did take a very important hiatus.
I mean, it definitely was,
Yes.
and that's something very excited to talk about. You know, I'm a new mom, and so excited to have you on because you're currently pregnant and also have a little one.
Yes,
How have you been?
I do. Surviving, making it, you know. I have this newfound respect for moms in general, but working moms especially, you know, balancing all of that, getting through COVID last year, being at home 24 hours a day, and with your little ones. It is. And so, like, literally being a mom is a superpower. So I just have a newfound respect for all of it.
I couldn't agree more. And the other thing, I find myself thanking and apologizing to my mom, I think, more than ever. You know, I've called her and I'm like, wow, Mom, the sheer amount of things that happen to your body, I am sorry and thank you.
And thank you for the sacrifices that you made.
To get us here. So
Yes.
But like I said, I'm excited to, you know, bring on Amy. She is, of course, a mom, wife, but she's so much on top of that as well, entrepreneur, former NRA TV host, frequent Fox News and Newsmax contributor, host now of Lawyers, Guns, and Freedom, which is an incredible podcast show. We'll definitely have to talk more about that. But also, like I said, entrepreneur of the company Alexo Athletica. And that's, I guess, I want to talk about so many things. I want to talk about, you know, COVID life, what it's been like. I have you on to talk about your background as well as what it's like, you know, in COVID, being a new mom and business owner. But I also primarily want to talk about what you're doing with human trafficking. I mean, I think that's such an important topic right now, and unfortunately, I don't think it's talked about in the media as much as it should be. And I think that's something that you guys have expanded on and are helping with so much. So I want you to kind of talk a little bit about what you're doing with your company.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it was really crazy because COVID really changed. I mean, it changed all of our lives, obviously. But one of the big things that we saw was how COVID impacted 501c3 nonprofit organizations. A lot of big companies obviously just didn't have the revenue to give as much as they were in the past to organizations. So I had the privilege of joining the board of an organization called Face Forward International, which is a nonprofit organization that finds victims of human trafficking, domestic violence, and then other serious violent crimes. And they choose victims from across the world. They will fly them in, and they work with, currently it's just out of Los Angeles. So they work with plastic surgeons and doctors to provide fully funded not only medical services and reconstructive surgeries, but they house them, they take care of all of their expenses while they're here in the States to get them back to a place where they can begin that journey of healing and begin moving from a victim to a victor. And so obviously, I mean, that had a very special place in my heart. I've got a good buddy who really brought the whole issue of human trafficking to my attention because, like you said, we just don't hear a whole lot about it with the mainstream media.
Nope.
And it's sad and it's a disservice because it is such a huge problem, not only in our country, but in the countries that are the people that are crossing our borders. We're seeing this a lot at our southern borders, and it's very, very sad what is happening to these women and these children. And so, you know, finding and aligning with organizations like that kind of mesh with the mission of our company, which is all about empowering women.
Yeah.
We wanted to empower these victims as well and help them not stay in victimhood, but get them to the place where they can be victorious in their lives. And so one way that we were able to do that, we found out that a lot of these corporations, they lost a lot of their corporate funding.
Yeah.
And so because of that, and we couldn't have a gala during COVID.
Oh, true.
So a lot of these nonprofit organizations have been severely impacted. They weren't able to help as many men and women get the treatment that they needed. So I was like, okay, what can we do? If we can't have a gala, we can't do some of these things that we traditionally want to do. I was like, look, we have such an amazing community built in and loyal customers with Alexo, and they all have a heart to help human trafficking. So we created a specific limited edition run of leggings called the Face Forward Camo Edition. We had 3 colors in it. Probably one of my favorite prints.
Mine too. I mean, I jumped on real quick and bought them, and I have your signature Carrie, and I love your clothing.
Yes.
Yeah. But at first I was just kind of looking at them because I was super excited. I'm like, oh, these are so cute, and and also, I know we talked about a little bit about this before, but they are the perfect mom pants. Like, I cannot stress that enough, because not only are they suctioning in all the right places, but they have like 80 pockets, so your pacifier, your keys, your wipes, your whatever it is.
Yes, baby bottles, it's all in there. Yes.
And a place to carry, a concealed weapon.
Yes.
So I was super excited to get them, and then I saw the message, and that made me all the more excited to get them.
Yeah, so a portion of each of the sales from that specific line actually went to Face Forward. So we were able to give thousands and thousands of dollars to this organization because of help like from you. And then I think women were buying like 3-4 pairs of these and passing it along. And the amount of people that jumped on board and couldn't wait to post about it and get the message out there for this organization was just, it was very humbling. And so we were very thankful. We are unfortunately completely sold out of these. So we're going to have to figure out.
It's a nice problem.
It's a great problem because that means we were able to give more to the organization. So now moving forward, we just got to figure out what else we're going to do to help them.
And didn't you hold a virtual 5K?
So we are in the process of doing that. We haven't picked a date yet.
Okay.
So being pregnant, I want to run in this virtual 5K with the team and with all of the women that are running. So I started my training journey back up. I couldn't run my first, being an avid runner, not being able to run in your first trimester is very sad. And so I just started back up again. So we're looking at the calendar right now to see like what the best date would be to do that. And then and those will be all the proceeds for that will be going to Face Forward.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love how you're bringing light to that. You're really bringing awareness to it, not only through the pants and through your posts and social media and just everything, but, in everything that you're doing with your company. So, I mean, that's incredible.
Well, thank you. I mean, look, we understand. I think it just all stems from the whole idea of like why I started Alexo in the first place. We understand and we recognize that women are very vulnerable, and especially in our society. I mean, obviously violence against women doesn't just happen in the United States, but the good thing is we have the ability to defend and protect ourselves. It's protected under the Second Amendment. So we want to empower women with that ability to say, you know what, I don't have to rely on anybody else to take care of me. I don't have to wait until something happens to me. I can be very proactive in my self-protection and in my defense, and that's really the entire like mission of our company. And so when I see that there are women who weren't able to do that, and then they were victimized in some way, like it really touches my heart, and I'm like, I don't want to see this happen to any more women. So we'll do what we can right now to help those that it's happened to, and then we want to equip women so that it never has to happen to more women.
Right. Well, Anna, I gotta shout out to you for after, I can't remember if it was the first time you were on my show or the second time, but you're the reason I got my concealed carry. Yeah.
So great. So love hearing that. That's awesome.
So and you're just, your story and just your message, pushed me to want to defend myself. And then of course I got pregnant, and I was like, it's not just about me anymore. It's about this thing growing in me that you're just gonna love, and just becomes your whole world.
Different mindset when it comes to protecting your children as well.
Like the mama bear thing is real.
Yep. No, it absolutely is. Yeah. And, we've talked a little bit about this. My story, I had a very reactive approach to why I got my license to carry. I want to be that advocate for women, and I want to be that example that says, like, you don't have to wait until something happens to you. You actually can be very proactive in finding a tool that makes you feel confident and makes you feel like, you know what, whether that's mace, whether that's taser, whether that is taking that step to get your license to carry, there are steps and things that you can do, but it's all about just being more situationally aware and aware of your surroundings that, look, bad things do happen to good people.
Yeah.
And once we know that and we recognize that, then we can be equipped and prepared to live our lives in a way that says, look, okay, I'm ready to be self-reliant and take care of myself.
Yeah, and exactly what you're saying, taking care of yourself can mean so many things. It doesn't have to be a gun.
Right.
You know, like I think you guys talked about the gel pepper blaster.
Yes.
And so I have one of those, and I made my family members all get those because they're in states where they're allowed to have those but not guns.
Yeah.
And
they're easy to conceal and carry.
Easy.
Yeah.
And I feel confident with it. You know, it just
Yep.
And it just, even if you don't want to walk around with that gun.
Yep.
And the other thing that I also loved about the concealed carry, even again, if you don't want to walk around with that gun, is the sheer amount that you learn about the law. And I think that that is something that so many people do not understand, is that to get your concealed carry, you're not just wanting to go out and flail your gun around.
Right.
It's so much teaching about how to use your gun, how not to use your gun.
Yeah, where not to.
Where you can't bring it, all of this stuff. And that's, so that's something that I think is huge. And I want to kind of talk about when it comes to laws, guns, with the current administration. I want your thoughts on just kind of everything that we're hearing from the Biden administration right now.
Well, a lot of what we're hearing, we heard it last night, if you watched the joint session of Congress, where they were really trying to push some of these gun control measures. And the issue that I have with these gun control measures, which are banning assault weapons, high capacity magazines, these so-called ghost guns, which aren't even used in hardly any crimes.
Right.
I mean, they're out there, but for the most part, it's something that people are making at home. They're law abiding, and it's not a big deal. However, what we're seeing are more laws that are trying to get passed that, at the end of the day, criminals don't care what laws are on the books. You are only going to make it harder for law-abiding citizens to get the tools and the equipment that they need should they find themselves in a situation. Because let's face it, criminals are going to be armed.
Yes.
They're going to have access to firearms no matter what the Biden administration passes, and they're not going to pay attention to that. And so we don't want to leave those that are the most vulnerable amongst us defenseless and helpless by not having access to the same tools that these criminals are going to be getting their hands on.
Well, and I always also go back to Bastille Day in France years ago, when someone just took a car and drove it through the parade. Bad guys are going to find a way to do it.
They are.
Whether there are rules in place or not, and I always, you see the signs, on the storefronts or whatever, no guns or whatever it is, being a law-abiding citizen, I'll go put my gun in my car. Yeah, but a criminal, if they're going to go in and rob it, they're not going to see the sign and be like, let me put my gun down.
Exactly.
Maybe I shouldn't come rob the store.
Exactly. I mean, putting a sign up on a door doesn't stop someone that has evil intentions on their heart from doing anything. We see that all the time with school shootings. I mean, the last time I checked, it's already against the law to murder people.
I think so.
And commit a mass shooting. Yeah. So, but obviously these people don't care about that. And, a lot of these rules are very arbitrary. They're not really going to do anything to stop gun violence. And that's another thing. I mean, without getting like super political on this, because I believe the Second Amendment covers all of us, regardless of what your political affiliation is. Yep. A lot of these rules, when they say that we have a gun violence issue, what people don't understand is the numbers that they give and the statistics that they give actually are including suicide, which is the highest number of those gun-related incidences.
And that's a personal
right. And so
violence
what they're trying to do is, so right now the big push is to ban AR-15s. They call them assault weapons, which that's an assault rifle. That's not even what AR stands for.
Right.
AR stands for Armalite rifle, which is the manufacturer of that rifle.
Right.
So when I say that, because they're pushing for this, saying that is where this gun violence is coming from, but gun violence with a rifle accounts for less than like 3% of the entire amount of. So this has nothing to do with actually stopping gun violence.
But you're never going to know that unless you watch something like this or follow someone like you.
Right.
Like that's not going to be published in.
No, because most people aren't
most
going
common
and
media.
researching. Okay, well, what guns are being used? Most of them
Yeah.
are handguns.
Yeah.
But
not gonna
shockingly,
ban
they're not
handguns.
trying to ban handguns
Yeah.
yet. You know, and so
It's a slippery slope. That's
Yeah.
the other thing that's kind of worrisome a little bit, is that it is a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that I saw that they're trying to push is universal background checks. And I actually saw something recently on Dan Crenshaw where he was talking about how universal background checks are not gonna also, again, the same
No.
thing. It's not gonna solve the problem.
No.
And once you start making all of these laws, again, where does the line stop?
Right.
And that's
Well,
where it's nerve-wracking.
That's exactly right. So that we're keeping a close eye on it. There's been several bills that have been passed in the House. I think they're going to have a very hard time getting past this. The universal background checks law is one of them. Another bill is one that holds up the process of the background checks in general. So right now, when I go down to my local gun store, and this is different for every state, you got to check the laws in your state. But when I go to my local gun store to pick up my firearm, I have my license to carry, so they don't even have to run the background check.
Yep.
But if you don't, you got to run a background check, and currently the FBI has to get back with you within a certain amount of time. If they don't, then they can go ahead and issue the firearm anyways. So like if there were any red flags that were waved, they have to get back with you within a certain amount of time. Well, there's a bill that just got passed in the House that now leaves it open for like an indefinite amount of time for the FBI to get back with you.
So it could be 3 months before you find out if you're allowed to have a firearm.
Yeah, so essentially, and the way that I look at it when I talk to people is I'm like, look, I have spoken to women who have found themselves in a very serious domestic violence situation, or they have a stalker, or they are young and they're moving out by themselves out of college. They're going to go live by themselves, and they can't afford a really nice neighborhood. So they're in a sketchy neighborhood. Well, guess what? Currently, you can go buy your firearm. If you pass your background check, you can take it home. You can protect yourself. If the FBI holds up this background check, well, then we are literally leaving these women defenseless, potentially defenseless.
Absolutely. And I do understand the idea of you do want the FBI to get back with you and make sure there are no red flags. So I do understand the idea behind that. But then you're, like you said, you're putting people in dangerous or precarious situations possibly, which again kind of defeats the purpose of being able to defend yourself and the right to bear arms.
Right. Well, exactly, which is a direct infringement on our Second Amendment right, which does give us that right. And so, it is a slippery slope, and there's a lot to keep our eyes on right now. If you don't have time to keep up with all of the gun legislation that is going on there, so I host a show called Lawyers, Guns, and Freedom, and it's a show for members only. So U.S. Law Shield is a great organization if you have your concealed carry license, and I'm not just pushing them. I don't make any money off of them by any means. There's several companies out there that have concealed carry insurance. This just happens to be the company that I have. It is so inexpensive to cover yourself if you ever find yourself in a situation that you need. People don't think, okay, when you use your gun, even in a defensive situation, you're going to have legal fees. You are going to have, you're going to have to face the law, and there's going to be things that are going to come up, and it can get very expensive very quickly. U.S. Law Shield takes care of that. What I love about our show is we bring on independent program attorneys from each of the states that kind of speak to these laws, and they let us know. So it is hard to keep up when they start talking about House Bill 1334 and H Bill 8 and 13. It's like, I can't remember all these things.
Yeah. There's so many of them.
There's so many of them, and for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense, and they don't want to keep up with it. We keep up with it for you on the show,
and give you the goods, the highlights.
Yes, we give you the highlights of all of it, and we make sure that we're telling you like why it's applicable to you, why it's important to you. So, like I said, you do have to be a member of U.S. Law Shield to watch that show, but the memberships are as cheap as like $11 a month.
And even if you don't have your concealed carry or anything like that, even if you are, and they are all over the country.
Yes.
And even if you don't, I just think it's a good thing to keep yourself educated. So to be part of that organization when it's, a couple bucks a month, it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so what is that, where to find out more information about that? And then I also want you to tell us where to find out more information about Alexo Athletica, Amy Robbins, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So just Google U.S. Law Shield. And if you do want to get one of their plans, you can use my code AMY, AMY, and that will get you 2 free months on a year subscription. And like I said, it's really inexpensive insurance. It's just to protect your investment and everything that you've done. Our company is alexoathletica.com. Again, you can just Google Alexo, like Alex with an O, and you'll find us. We'll pop up. We're on Instagram, Facebook. If you have any questions, we have a very responsive customer service team that will get back to you very quickly on any of those platforms as well. So,
Perfect.
and yeah, you can go follow us. We'd love for you to follow us, please, on Instagram and Facebook.
And like I said, I really can vouch for those pants. I mean, I have the signature carries and the
Awesome.
the face forward. They're fantastic, especially for a new mom where you're trying to suck in the right places. They're excellent.
Not so much pregnancy friendly.
No, I
I
know.
can vouch for that right now, but
Actually-
postpartum, they're amazing. Yes.
I bought them actually pregnant, and I was like, I can't wait to wear these.
Then you put them on afterwards. You're like, oh, I like how it sucks
and I was
everything
like, wait a minute,
in.
I just want to wear this every day.
Yes, it really does do that. So we appreciate you being such a
Yes,
big supporter of us
always,
from the very beginning. You guys were there, and we just can't thank you enough for that.
No, and I appreciate it. I love having you on. It's always a good conversation, and I think super educational for people. So thank you again so much.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. Don't forget you can follow us on all of your social media platforms as well as your streaming, and we will see you next time.
You have the right to inspire.